Hello, fellow EDU Googlers. So glad that you're here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that's originality reports. So super glad that you guys are here. On the screen, hopefully you can all see my screen. You'll see there's a bit.ly in the screen to access the slide deck for today. So again, all lowercase, don't forget that little dash in there. Feel free to pull up the deck and follow along as I'm chatting away to you today. Again, super excited that you're here. Feel free to post questions in the chat as we go along. Love to hear your questions. If I don't know the answer, I will find out. I guarantee you that, right? Just like any other teacher. So let's get started. We at Amplified IT, we work with K through 12 schools and higher ed in your Google platform. Google for Education or Enterprise for Education across the US. We deal with very tiny schools like what I came from, a very small private school with students that had learning differences, to the largest school systems in the United States. So we can work with any size, right? It's all scalable and everybody has a need. It's just maybe slightly different. In order to work with those schools, we offer a number of different services, whether it's consulting services. And if you're like me, small school, you don't really have a huge staff, it's very beneficial maybe to help you when you're rolling out Chromebooks across your school, right? To do a Chrome checkup or the kickstart to get it going, an audit of your admin console environment, really checking those settings for best EDU security practices. Sometimes, I came from the business world into education, and sometimes the best security practice in the business world isn't exactly what you do, right, in your student environment. So really understanding those concepts, how to apply it, and most importantly, why to apply it. We also have a number of technical services that we offer, whether it's migration, support, provisioning. Maybe you're doing a mass migration from a legacy system into the Google admin console. That's a huge project and a huge lift in itself. So having some assistance along the way with that is always good, right? I work on the technical PD team. My name's Tammy Groff. We provide training and certifications. We're super excited because we're about to expand in our certification environment and offer multiple certs. So we're super happy about that. It's a great way to understand the Google admin console from an EDU perspective, right? Which can be completely different from that business vein. We also offer a number of lab tools, whether it's Gopher for Chrome and managing your Chromebooks, setting up the Chromebooks to begin with, managing your users, right? Managing Google Classroom, having that visibility and insight into what's going on and what's happening inside your Google Classroom, right? So today, like I said, we're going to be going over originality reports, and you'll see in the top right-hand corner, there's a link to the slide deck. Feel free to use that again. We're going to dive into first what are originality reports and kind of go through it from a student perspective and a teacher perspective. For those of you that are IT folks maybe on today, lots of IT people in EDU love this. Why? Because there's no real heavy lift for you here. There's really no lift at all. Aren't really any settings to govern this in the admin console. This is strictly driven by your students and your teachers. So it's a great tool in that regard. They're already there at your fingertips. It's just whether you, as a teacher or a student, engage in using them. So let's dive in. What are originality reports and what do they do? So I wanted to start with a stat with you. I know when I first moved from the business world into being a director of IT, I also taught some coding classes, and I only had my students write one paper a year. I never thought plagiarism was a huge issue. That didn't take me long to figure out it's a huge issue. So I found this stat from plagiarism.org that 1 out of 3 high school students admitted that they have used the internet to plagiarize an assignment. It was, even in a small school for us, it was a huge, huge problem. And how do you manage that, right? Even now in my college days, when I'm working on my master's, using a different product, we won't mention any names, right? You turn it in and you get your report back, but that's it. If for some reason there's a mistake, I've learned over the years how to do the right formatting. But I'm also in school with students sometimes a lot younger than me, and they may not have been taught the skills, or maybe you've been away from the ED world for a long time and you don't know those skills, right? And doing the proper formatting. You need a tool that's also going to help the teacher along with that process to learn how to do it and advocate for themselves. So enter the Originality tool on Google Classroom. Absolutely love it. So first, let's talk about what it does. First of all, we're using the power of Google search. I love saying that because I just feel like it's like dun, 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 right? There are billions of websites it's searching, right? Probably, I would say, millions of books that are online. So it's searching all of those plethora of information to see where there might be matches. So it's great. It'll also look at previous student submissions. If the teacher scanned them into Google Drive and keeps them there, then it'll scan against those as well. So I wasn't even into my second year of teaching, and boom, kid from the current year, you tried to use work from a student from the previous year. It happens. Sometimes it's intentional, right, on our students, and sometimes it's purely an accident. They're trying to learn how to do proper formatting and things like that on their papers. Sometimes it happens inadvertently. So we need to figure out a way, how do we teach them to do that correctly, right? Also, keep in mind, Originality Reports is completely compliant with all the important things, right? Especially FERPA. All right. The thing you need to know, under the Enterprise for Education model, you have unlimited access to this tool, which is great, right? If you're an English teacher or a writing teacher, you may be needing to use Originality Reports multiple times throughout a school year. In my case, in a coding class, once, and I'm good, right? But other classes certainly have a much higher need for it. There are several languages that are supported. We have English, French, Indonesian, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Spanish, and Swedish. Oh my gosh, with more to come, I'm sure, from Google. So there's a number of different languages that are covered and supported through Originality Reports. So that's a huge win. It needs to be in a Google Doc format, right? To be searchable. You must have a Google for Education account, right? This is a tool that's geared entirely towards the EDU world. So, and we can also use this via assignments with your learning management system. Now, I won't be demoing that today, but I know a lot of you are coming back for the one tomorrow. There will be a demo in that session for utilizing Originality Reports inside the learning management system. So very similar to what I'm going to show you today, slight different look and feel to it, but you'll be able to see that live and in person tomorrow. So when I started out the conversation, I said that what's the whole key to plagiarism? It's for students to learn how not to do it, right? What are the proper tools and techniques that they need? This is the main reason that I love Originality Reports, because we turn our students into superheroes against plagiarism. They then become their own self-advocates to run the Originality Report themselves before they turn it into the teacher, and they have the opportunity to correct their mistakes and learn from it and grow. Win-win, right? They have up to 3 times per assignment to do that before they need to submit it. Hopefully 3 times is enough times to kind of go back and edit your work and work on it and take a look at it and do what needs to be done with it. And it gives us that proactive feeling. So I'm going to demo this for you as we go through the slide deck. So first, in order to use the Originality reports as a student, right, the teacher needs to assign it to an assignment. So I'm over here in the most awesome class ever, right? Let's go to the classwork tab, and I've already set up an assignment in draft, which I'm going to edit. I've put in the name. I've said, please check the rubric for your instructions, right? I've added a rubric. The only thing that I haven't done is I haven't set to check for plagiarism and originality. So I'm going to click on that button and I'm going to assign it. It's literally that simple to turn it on and attach it to an assignment for the students. So I'm going to assign it. Now I'm going to come over here as a student. We had to do an essay on why your superhero is the best, right? I'm going to come in as a student into the most awesome class ever. And my student happens to be named Wonder Woman. So, of course, who do you think her favorite superhero is going to be? So you're going to see, well, there's a new assignment right there in the feed. So being that Wonder Woman is an overachiever, right? She's already got the assignment done because she's just kind of psychic that way. You'll notice your rubric pops up and all the pertinent information that you've loaded in. So it'll say Originality reports available. So that's the cue to the student. I got an extra tool at my disposal before I turn this in, right? So I'm going to add my file for my document that I wrote in APA format. So it's going to go through uploading. And now, before I turn it in, notice how the screen changed. I have the ability to run that Originality report. So I'm going to run it. Now, it's running it, giving me the percentage of where it's at. Teacher, students, patient, because remember, if they had bigger reports, right, it could take a little bit longer. Now I can click on it and view it. So I'm going to view it. Automatically, it has sections that's highlighted. So I know I've got an issue. I quickly scan through the rest of my document. Boom, I found an issue. So I'm going to go over here, and now it's switched to being highlighted in yellow, and I can see here's your packet, your passage, and here's the web search that matched. How cool is that? Like, boom, it's right there. You can see, well, yeah, it's really close. Maybe I should tweak that and change it a little bit, right? So that's the number one thing that you want to do as a student. Now the student can say, okay, I've got one package or passage on this I need to take a look at. Let me go back, and now I want to edit that document, right? I can pull it back down, I can edit it, reload it, run the Originality report again. I can not only view by count, number of incidents, but I can also view by percentage. Everything I turn in college is a percentage, right? I had one the other day for my master's class that came back 34%, and I almost had a heart attack because I'm not that chick, right? Turns out it was the template he'd given us with the headings, and it had false positives on every single reference in my reference section. Nothing in the core document itself other than the headings, which had been supplied to us as a template. Right, but it came out to 34%. So I just kind of instantly was like, right? Could I have, had I had the ability, like we do with Originality reports, to kind of run that through and skim it myself, I probably wouldn't have panicked, because by the time I submit it in college, like, it's done, right? If there's a problem. So Wonder Woman's got this report. She's going to say, okay, I need to go edit it. Or maybe she decides she's going to be a little lazy. She's happy with it. She thinks it's a good enough match. It's only one, right? So she just turns it on in. So she's now turned it into her teacher. Now, let's switch back over to Mrs. Groff, the teacher, right? Let's go back over to Google Classroom. And I'm going to click into this assignment now, and I can see I already have one person that's turned it in. So I come in here and Wonder Woman has turned it in. Now, I as the teacher can click on this, right? I've got all my grading stuff on the side, which I absolutely love. What an awesome feature. You can go through, you know your rubric by heart as a teacher, right? You can just run through, put the scores in, boom, there you go. But we're talking about originality reports today. So I'm going to click on that one flagged passage, right? I see there's an issue there. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to now pull it up for me. I know exactly where on the web it was an issue. If for some reason I want to read more, sometimes, right, you can get something that's very close, right, in nature, but maybe as a teacher, you want to read more. You really want to go into that article a little deeper. Was it plagiarism or is it just coincidence, right? Sometimes it may be like every third word, something like that, that has a match. You just want to make sure, was this really plagiarism or is this like a fluke? If I pulled it up and redirect notice, okay. If I pulled this article up and I go through and I find it in here as I read through the article, I might then say, I kind of got an issue here. I might want to send this back to Wonder Woman and have her work on it and do a little bit more improvement. So Wonder Woman's going to take it back. She's going to work on it, resubmit it. Boom. I get it back as Mrs. Groff. I can scan through it again, right? From an originality perspective, and take a look at it and see what those matches are. If I want to print off the report, I could do that. Again, just as with the student, I can see it by percentage. All right. So where are we at in our slide deck? See, I tend to do a lot of demo, so I get carried away. But now we've put the tools for really doing a great job at avoiding plagiarism, because it's not really about the plagiarism, right? It's about teaching them how to cite things correctly. So you've put a tool into their hands that helps them work on and mold themselves to become better at citing information, right? And then it becomes this magic tool for the teacher. The teacher instantly, just by clicking a box when she did the assignment, has a report student by student for their submission that she can take a look at and say, okay, these were the issues. She can put notes on it. She can send it back to the student. Now you've created that collaborative environment with the student where they can learn how to cite sources correctly, right? And what a great tool. Hopefully, as that process continues, the students become much more proficient at it, right? And what teacher doesn't love that? The key thing to remember is, right, is that when an originality report runs, it's only good for 45 days. Then after that, it's gone. But if you think about it, unless you found an issue at the time, right, that then you had to run through behavioral warning or something like that against the school policy, right? You really don't need it past that 45-day mark. Hopefully by then you've graded, unless you're like me. No, I always graded every Friday religiously, but I had to, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been my forte. So it was blocked in red on the calendar every Friday to get it done. Hopefully you guys don't have that same issue. So there's a lot of greatness that can come out of originality reports for our students. I really like it because of the benefit and the power it gives to the student, which is very different than anything else out there, right? You're putting the power in their hands to be successful and advocate for themselves to get to where they need to be. All right, let's see. We got a few questions over here. So let's dive into those. All right. From Kevin, is it searching other teachers who may be teaching the same class assignment within the domain? It is searching those items that are stored within the domain, provided they've been loaded up. Will it search submissions to the current assignment from Megan to prevent cheating within the class or cross-class submissions. So at current time for submission, I don't believe it does that at the moment because it's scanning them at that time. I'm not sure. I will double check on that and see if I can find out for you on things submitted simultaneously in the same class. Typically, though, I'll say as the teacher, as you're reading through it, you're going to have that red flag go off in your head, right? When you're using that rubric to grade it, you're going to be like, hey, I think I just read that. From Debbie, what does the 3 times per assignment for students mean? So that's a great question. So remember when I was Wonder Woman, the student, right? So I'm in on the assignment. I've run it once, the originality report for this assignment as the student. I've decided I've clearly found a problem. I pulled it back. If I unsubmit, I can take that document. I can work on it. I can resubmit it again. When I resubmit it again, I'm going to get that second run, right? So, and it's going to tell you, this is your second or third attempt. You really, even though you're putting a tool in the student's hand, you want to limit how many times they can do that, right? If they're not learning from the process, then there's something else going on. They need to submit it, and now it needs to become more of a conversation between the teacher and the student, right? All right, so let's see. From Megan again, only in docs? What about slides and sheets? It is only in docs as of now, is my understanding, but I will double check on that as well and see that's coming down the line. From Kent, is the originality report only available through Enterprise for Education? Great question, Kent. No, it's actually available in Google for Education. But in Google for Education, instead of the teacher having unlimited access to using it, you get 5 times. So the student would still have 3 times, right? But the instructor only has 5 times per class. Now, for me teaching a coding class, I only do 1 paper a year because the rest of the time we're coding, right? So not such a big deal for me. But again, you've got lots of teachers, science class, English class, creative writing, things of that nature, where you would absolutely potentially need originality reports much more than 5 times a year. Do citations need to be in APA? No. In my example, I was using APA, right? It could be any of the other formats as well. It's searching the content of the paper through Google search against every website that's out there and any books that are on the web, right? As your source. From Megan, does originality reports look at assignments from outside the domain, like in another school? No, it does not, right? Because you can run into some issues with that. It's looking at what it sees on the web, right, through Google search, and what you've got going on in your domain. That's it. But that's a lot, right? Let's see, from Jessica, can teachers see if a student has to change and resubmit after receiving a match? That is a great question. All you're going to see, right, from the teacher perspective, if I exit out of this, you're just going to see that report. I can see the history here where they turned it in and it was assigned, but that's what's in history for right now. That's a great suggestion, though, to be added, right? All right, from Robbie, if the student material is properly cited, does it still get flagged? No. In fact, you'll notice, that's another great question. Robbie, thanks for asking that. You'll notice in my report, I have a typo, but I have citations, right? None of that got flagged because it was cited properly. It's only where it saw the issue of repeating the information word for word from the website. So the citation was there and it was good. Let's see, from Mike, can a student run their own originality report? Yes, Mike, exactly. They get those 3 shots, right, per assignment. Boom. And encourage them to do it. None of us are perfect. That's how they learn, right? They're going to run that originality report. You might even want to do a lesson on running through that, right? Here's how you Run that originality report before you turn it in. Pull it back. Edit it. Make sure what you're submitting is the best of the best, right? Can you clarify if a student from Debbie can turn this on or if they have to wait for the teacher to turn on this option? Okay, that's a great question too. So remember back when I did the assignment? So I'm going to return this. So I'm kicking it back to the student now. All right. So when I added the assignment under classwork, I had to turn it on, physically check that checkbox per assignment, because you're not going to need originality reports for every assignment that you put into Google Classroom, or if you're running through assignments. You won't need it on everything. So that checkbox is there for you to turn on by assignment as needed, but you have control as the teacher. All right. From Catherine. If the teacher forgets to turn it on and then edits the assignment, turns it on after it's assigned, will it still work? Yeah, absolutely. So I can turn it off, save it. I can come back in, edit it. I'm going to turn it back on. And over on Wonder Woman, I can submit it again. The key thing to remember is if you forget to turn it on and you've issued the assignment, is maybe verbally or by email, make your students aware that, yeah, they need to use the originality option before they turn it in, that you have gone back in and selected it and put it on. All right, let's see. From Noelle, if a student don't choose to run the originality report, can the teacher? Absolutely. You've got the ability to run the originality report yourself when it comes in. And you will have those students, right? They're like, I don't need to use that. I'm just going to write on in. Not going to work. You got the power as the teacher to run that originality report. Another great question from Sarah. Can a student share his or her originality report with the teacher? There's really no need to share it with the teacher because you automatically have access to it as the teacher when you go in to view the assignment for grading. The originality report is going to be right there for each student with each submission. Okay, great question. All right, any other questions? Hopefully I got everybody. Those are some great questions, guys. Thank you. I love that. Let's see. I don't see anymore. All right. Will there be an option for students to access the originality reports to help them become a better citizen of intellectual property? Sure. So once they've run it and they're, if they go back into the assignment, so I as Wonder Woman, if I come in here and I've turned it in, right? I still have access. Let me turn it back in. Refresh that. Ah, I bet I hit the limit. Let me do another assignment here real quick. All right, so I'm going to assign it. Let's make this one due Friday. I know as a student, remember, I'm going to see those originality reports are available. I'm going to go flag that. Oops. Oh, it says I don't own that. What? Let me go into Drive. The copy. Whoops. There we go. All right, so it's running through. I can run that originality report. 3 of 3. So I hit that 3 of 3 limit. All right, let's pull that up. So I have access to it. I could print it if I wanted to. I have that edit at the bottom. So I can edit it right here, right? Notice how it automatically pulled it up in the doc for me. So I could go in right there if I wanted to as Wonder Woman, the student, and edit that document. I could also click back over and view the report. So I can view the report. I can print the report. I could save that if I wanted to, right? Print it to a PDF, save it to your Google Drive, and then you've got the report that you can get to easily and go back to for reference. All right, let's see. Yes. Thank you, Devin. So glad she's funneling me questions today. I love it. I always say it takes a village, right? And they're all here, invisible superheroes. So thank you, Devin. Just a reminder, if you want to watch the recording of this event, let's go to goo.gle/G Suite training, all lowercase. You'll also, if you downloaded the slide deck today, it's right there in the slide deck for you at our website to get access to the video recording. All right. Thank you for your time today. I hope everybody learned something new and exciting to carry on. See you on the next one. Bye.